Recording now.
Okay, Mr. Marquetto, if you will present.
Thank you. I'd just like to bring up to speed on some things that we're doing in human resources that kind of dovetail with the budget but aren't actually number-based. So, you know, we, as a contractor with Capital Blue for our healthcare, we've been selected as an initial participant in the Genea Healthcare Analytics Software Platform. The program cost is about approximately $16,000. However, as Capital Blue participants, is free to the city. This program will allow us for data analysis to specifically target healthcare utilization and potential savings in healthcare at no cost to the city. So we're in the process of implementing that. We'll have that ready to go, I think, within a few weeks. In addition, the city is also in the process of initiating Benefit Focus. Benefit Focus is an open enrollment and benefit tracking software platform. Employees will soon be able to enroll in their medical, dental, vision, and other voluntary benefits online. We're rolling this out for our non-bargaining employees in early December, with the rest of the workforce in 2016. This platform will enable the city to be more efficient in compliance with the Affordable Care Act reporting that starts in 2016, as well as provide healthcare information and programs directly to our employees. Also, Human Resources has initiated several wellness programs to encourage a healthier workforce and reduce healthcare costs. As members of Capital Blue, the city receives funding for these initiatives, so there is no cost item for the city as well. As council is aware, we also successfully negotiated a new collective bargaining agreement with the firefighters that will provide for labor stability for 5 years. We were able to avoid the uncertainty and cost of Act 111 arbitration. I thank Chief Walbach for his assistance, and also the IAFF leadership for their ability to work with the city to achieve this agreement. For the coming year, we are still in process with the new police contract, and also SEIU bargaining will take place in the second half of 2016. On the risk side, Leonard Leitner has been working on several safety initiatives, including a rewrite of the city vehicle and accident review policy. The new committee that will be set up from this will have a solid metrics to institute safer driving practices and vehicle responsibility by our employees, and hopefully reduce costs in that area as well. As for the budget, most of the HR risk budget is flat compared to 2015. There are no personnel changes. However, as noted in prior meetings, the healthcare budget is set to increase by $1.1 million over 2015. To put this in perspective, if the city were not self-insured, the cost for a policy to cover all actives and retirees would be $18.7 million for 2016. That would be an increase of $2.8 million. So we are saving money being self-insured and managing it ourselves. With that, I'll take any questions on the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Marquetto. And I'll open it up to my colleagues for any questions you may have for him. Okay. One question, if you could address, and I know it came up in previous meetings, there was some mention about the Cadillac tax.
Yes.
And that if you just address that and explain as you did to me.
Cadillac tax is an excise tax on expensive healthcare plans mandated by the Affordable Care Act. That tax will be set to kick in beginning in 2018. Currently, the thresholds for that tax are $10,700 for an individual policy, and I believe $26,500 for a family policy. There are higher thresholds if the employer has what are called high-risk professions. And since the city has firefighters and police that make up more than 51% of the workforce, I believe we will be able to take advantage of the higher thresholds. And I believe those are $11,300 for individual and $30,000 and some change for a family plan. In 2016, our equivalent rates, as a benchmark to those numbers, are 9,000 for an individual plan and around 23,000 for a family plan. Now, also understand that the Affordable Care Act only has two thresholds, individual and family. The city has 5 individual classifications. We have employee, employee spouse, employee and one child, employee and children, meaning 2 or more, and family. So although the family is 23,000, if you blend those with the other available levels, that brings that 23,000 down fairly significantly. So I don't believe that under the current trends of increase that we will see the Cadillac tax in 2018. And also understand that with the Cadillac tax, employee contributions into healthcare have no bearing on that number. The only way to satisfy or get below the Cadillac tax is to actually have plan design changes. We were successful in getting some plan design changes in the firefighters contract that reduced that numbers somewhat. So that's the avenues that we have to seek going forward to control those costs.
Okay, thank you. What's important to note there is that we do not have anybody currently, nor do we anticipate, at least until 2018, because it's not even in effect till then, correct?
Correct, and I would anticipate, if all things stay even, 2020.
Thank you. And again, I'll open up to colleagues if any questions. Yes, Mr. Glazer.
Oh, and if I may add one other thing, with the firefighters contract, we do have a provision in that contract that if we do hit the Cadillac tax in 2018, that we will sit down and reopen healthcare and discuss that so we bring ourselves back under. So there is a provision that's included in that contract, and I would propose those same parameters for the police and depending what we do with SEIU as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Glazer?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Marquetto, I have a couple of questions about the risk fund. In the budget book on page 331, under revenue miscellaneous, that number's a little bit of an increase from the prior years. If you can give us some ideas what it is, where it's coming from, whether it'll be sustainable. Page 331. If you don't have that information tonight, if you could get it to
Actually, it's in the detail sheet,
Yeah.
and there is a reimbursement from a state settlement, and I don't remember specifically which issue it is.
What that is a New England Avenue project.
There it is.
Well, there.
Okay, I got it. That's the state, we expect to get that state reimbursement.
In 2016.
Okay.
2016.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where would it be on the detail sheet though? That's. Well, you can tell me later. It's kind of tough to match some of this stuff up, but thank you, that's good news. If we go over to the detail book, sir, on page 173. At the top of the page, there's a line item for auto liability TPA fees.
Yes.
If you could explain that to us and, please.
Mr. Glady, what page?
Page 173.
173.
Yes, sir.
In the detail book?
Wait.
Yes, in the detail book.
Oh,
It's the third, number 3.
It's the auto liability TPA fees.
Oh, it's on 231 notes.
okay.
Are you guys using a different numbering system?
I have different things to refer to in case of.
That's a finance question, any numbering in the budget books. Finance. The auto liability TPA fees, since we're self-insured for auto liability, we contract with a third-party administrator to manage all of our claims. That is currently PMA. And PMA has been on board for 2 years, yeah, for auto for 2 years. And I believe their annual charge is roughly $60,000 a year. Since we brought them on board, they, through collecting through subrogation, other insurance carriers, when other vehicle drivers are at fault, they've been able to recoup additional funds so that they're essentially paying for their services themselves. So they're bringing in more money than we're paying them. So it's a no-cost item essentially with their performance, and we've been very pleased with their performance. So they've been doing a great job, and you know, they manage all the claims. So it's essentially as if when you have an accident, you call your insurance carrier, we just call them, and we're essentially the bank for any of the claims.
And you're happy with the way that's working out?
Yes, we actually did an analysis this year because I wanted to know if it would be cheaper to insure, just as you would insure through a policy. It actually would have cost us slightly more than we have now. And there was, I forget the specifics, but through my analysis, it wasn't worth the little bit extra money that we would have paid to have that done. So we were, you know, taking the chances ourselves. We're doing better.
I noticed that some of the departments now have a line item for, you know, for $3,000 or $4,000 for small claims.
Yes.
How's that working out?
Amy Chaplet, she was here before me, and actually we consulted on this. We're trying to run at least the auto program very similar to as you have your own insurance policies with deductible, so that for minor claims, and so we can put some more responsibility back into the people who have the problems, we have the departments pay for them themselves. So that threshold is set at $500. So if you have a minor fender bender, or if you knock a mirror off a car, or you know, hit a curb, and those costs, we're driving that back down to the departments because they are the ones that are on the ground there that can control their employees and try to correct that behavior rather than running that back up through us.
Thank you. Just one last question regarding medical insurance. And also in the detail book on my page 176, or on our page 176. I mean, the line item there is for $17 million.
Yes.
That looks like it includes an awful lot of things: medical administration fees, traditional HMO claims, we have a stop-loss policy, prescription dental vision, life insurance, the SDIE plan. Is there anything else that's included in that line item besides those items?
That covers everything related to active and retired employees.
And retired people.
That is correct. And also understand with the 32BJ, or the SEIU medical plan, we do not self-insure as we do all the other population. We actually, the union has their own healthcare plan that we essentially pay a premium into. And they manage their own plan. And those costs have been very similar to ours as far as trending up. Those costs have been between 5 and 7% over the time we've been in the plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Hendrick.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, this time we'll open up to the public.
Ken happens right here. The back to insurance thing, we're paying them $60,000 to handle all that, but how many insurance claims do we actually process? Like, do we have, our drivers have a lot of accidents, or? I mean, is it?
Well, I'll let him answer that, but I can tell you that there are a lot of accidents and a lot of accidents that aren't fault of the city employee also.
Well, yeah, I know on the Allen Street, the first one through the red light, with the police car in the building. I'm curious, do we have like,
Yeah, to date, we have 227 auto claims, and that includes everything. So even if there's a claim that is pushed back down to the department that we had talked about, that $500, that's included in that number. 2014, the final year number was 377 claims.
So that's what we're
everything
paying,
from mirrors to?
Correct.
we're paying $57,000 to a company and they'll review all those claims and determine which ones they can go after and,
That is correct.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Talking about the health plan, do they have a provision, does the city have a provision for under these plans, if a spouse works 40 hours, that they're the primary insured person and taken off the city's rolls, or is that like other corporate?
No, that is not part of the city's healthcare plans. I know that those provisions were proposed to the various bargaining units, and we were not successful in getting those implemented. Those have to be bargained. I mean, most of our, other than the non-bargaining, most of the police and fire, have to be bargained, so it's not no surprise either.
Do you have a cost number savings if you would do that?
I don't have it at the top of on my list, no, I don't.
Because most corporations, I shouldn't say most, but corporations do this in the industry, and I think the city should look into that, and if there's a savings there, because somebody's paying twice. The person, maybe the spouse or the husband, is getting maybe a free ride to the city, and vice versa. So, I mean, you shouldn't be paying twice for the insurance if one can cover. If they're working full-time, I'm not talking about part-timers. So,
Would
something
that also
to look
include, I have
into.
a question too, Mr. Arquette. What about coordination of benefits? Is that, so there is no, because I've already
There's
received.
coordination of benefits.
Yeah, there is.
If a spouse is covered by their own plan, there is a primary and secondary, absolutely. But I think what Mr. Hunsiker is referring to is if someone has available coverage at another place of employment, that they have to be on that coverage and off of the city plan.
Right.
Okay.
And there is savings that there's no doubt. But again, the city has, very nice benefits for the employees, and when you get over to the union side, that is a bone of contention for the unions.
When contracts come up, I think it's imperative that we look into those things. I mean, no matter who it is, I mean, it's all negotiable.
Point well taken, Mr.
So I think we should do that. Mr. President? Vice President? There was one other thing, but it just forgot my mind. I was just wondering what was their budget increase this year, HR? If they're covering a lot of the so-called lawsuits that are out there, some pending, I mean, is your budget increased from last year by how much?
Which,
Which one? HR budget, is that?
Talking risk management?
Risk management, well, I guess that's what you're talking about.
you mean the money that's set aside to pay for lawsuits, has that increased? That's up to the page. Yeah. I mean, it's 558,000, or 528,000, I'm sorry, for 2016. That's actually down from, a 1.5 million, but I believe in that 1.5 million number was the New England Avenue. And those, just so you understand, those, I mean, although we have that in the risk fund, and, I can get those numbers, that number for those lawsuits is managed up through the solicitor's office. So they're the ones that manage that and give us those numbers. Once a lawsuit comes in, and that gets directly sent up to the solicitor's office and managed through that office.
What page are you on here? Is that the detail versus?
Yeah, that's the
It's
detail.
in the detail. It's in the detail.
It's in the regular,
What is that, what page are you reading from now, the detail? Or is that the regular, when you're looking?
I'll see it's in the regular as well. Hang on.
it would be the 80 account self-insured losses, and maybe that's an easier way to find it rather than by page. It's under the 001 80 account.
Those numbers mean something to you. I mean, yeah, I see them up there, but pages are probably easier to read right now, but Mr. Rice will get that.
Well, I assume our pages are different than your pages.
Oh, they are? That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good. Don't say that. Yeah. I assume you're looking at two different books.
No,
that's not the first time I've heard that today.
Pages that feature every one of the positions in the entire city laid out. And that's a lot of extra paper.
You have a master copy and we only have a.
There you go.
Abbreviated.
Whatever.
Okay. I'll find it.
Thank you, Mr. Unser.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Hirsch.
Can I ask, John, do some supervisors have insurance, group insurance, dental and prescription and health insurance costs $21,000? The budget says 21, something for some employees.
No, the $21,000 number is for every employee. And
No, it's under, I don't have it with me, but some budget show for one employee, 21,000 health insurance group.
For one employee, you said?
And then my next question is, John, well, the Cadillac plan for 2016 is what?
there is no Cadillac plan for
Is
2016.
considered a Cadillac plan?
No, there's no
Any,
consideration.
I'll fax it all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Are there any other questions by the public? If not, then I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.